The outside players are making a ton of noise, and they're starting to drop like flies at Chiefs training camp today on Locked On Chiefs.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome back, friends and neighbors. Nice to see you. We're brought to you today by Gametime. You can download that app, set up your account, and use our code LOCKEDONNFL, and you're going to get $20 off your first ticket purchase. Terms apply, but it's super simple. Everything is simple when you're trying to make a team. Play better than that guy. Just don't be one of the last dudes, and that's what's going on. Competition is back out of training camp. It got hot today. There were a number of people that had to leave practice. We're going to talk about later in the show coming up with that. Then the corner roles, they're starting to kind of fill in some changes about who's taking the 1 reps and what this might look like in preseason game number 1. That's coming up in just a little bit. And in a minute, we're going to get started with the wide receivers. They're taking their game to a new level. This is Chris Clark from Chiefs Corner. I'm Ryan Tracy, the founder of Rogue Analytics and Performance Consulting, also over at NFL 33, where I'm talking about the QB contract situation here this week, as well as RGR football. Make sure you like, sub, and hit the bell here on YouTube. Follow us on Spotify, on Apple Music, anywhere you get a free podcast. You can get us for free 5 days a week because that's what we do. Plus, we put out extra bonus content, and we are live on our Locos Insider text line. Our everyday listeners, we appreciate you guys, and we give you that much more at 816-357-8781. Nico Remigio, on the tip of everybody's tongue, is the guy that the coaching staff is pulling for. They're talking him up, special teams, being in position. He got in front of the reporters today and had, I think, a very interesting and frank discussion about where he is and understanding not only what his ability is, but where his role is in this roster. I came away feeling like with his self-awareness and the plays that he's making in practice, he's inching himself towards that 6 wide receiver spot and the ability to play teams that is going to get him on this 53-man roster. What were your takeaways?
Yeah, I think that's what it comes down to is you look at his special teams play, and he is kick returner 1 or 2, and I guess depending on the setup, I guess, and he is going to be one of those guys that's out there, and it's going to be something to watch. I think he is going to make the roster because of his kick return ability. Obviously, I think he was making some noise last year, and then he got injured. And they kept him around for a reason. It seems like it is working out well for him and for the team. And you look at it, and I know we're going to talk about this a little bit later, but another wide receiver went down today, and Nico's going to be stepping in, getting those snaps. I mean, that just helps his case.
Yeah, every chance you get to make a play helps out your cause. And I think I talked about this with Matt a little bit, and the resemblance, the field that I get for Albert Wilson. I don't think it's a 1-for-1 comparison. We got to see what he looks like speed-wise on the field with the pads and the whole 9 yards. But he's doing everything on the checklist to get himself on the roster, and I feel confident about that. So as he reps in, he's not the only one making some noise. And I think you saw this the other day while you were in St. Joe. But Washington stepping up, making some plays as well. Montrell's making a little bit of noise that might get him noticed as well. Do you think he has any chance outside of the practice squad to be on this roster?
I would imagine outside the practice squad, no. But I also would say that if he shows up anything like what he has in camp and makes any kind of plays in the preseason, I don't know that they're going to be able to put him on the practice squad. Some of the catches he's been making are acrobatic, and people are going to take a chance on that just because of the ability to come down with those types of balls. And there's one of them that he came down with one-handed, and I don't know that he got both feet in, but it was over one of the taller corners, and he just came down with the ball one-handed, and everybody got fired up. And it was just one of those plays where you watch it and you're like, you wish that there was a spot for him on this roster. I don't see one right now, mainly because he's more of a kick returner than he really is a wide receiver. He hasn't been getting the run with the ones. We'll see if that changes with the injury that just happened today and how long he's going to be out. But I have a hard time believing that he can make the actual roster. I do think that if possible, they'd love to have him back on the practice squad because he gives you not only a guy that can step in and play wide receiver at times, but also a guy that can come in and return kicks for you if somebody goes down.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think it goes even farther beyond that. It gives him another chance to get more reps. We're going to talk about the injury situation coming up later in the show, folks. There's a number of them. One of them is at the wide receiver spot, and we're going to run them down for you. But he is one of the, I think, the leading guys that might start to get enough reps that he can play with Patrick Mahomes a little bit more. Nico's going to get a lot of that. McCole Hardman's going to get a lot of that. Justin Ross is going to get some of it as well. But I would think Washington's probably right behind those three. Unfortunately, I think those three are probably playing for one spot. So I agree with you. I don't know that you're going to get him back to the practice squad, but that's the only place I think they're going to have room for him right now.
Well, and you look at it, and we've talked about this multiple times. You've got the top three in Brown and Worthy and Rice. And it still looks like, and if you would have asked me this 2 months ago, I would have told you Rice is probably going to miss the 2024 start of the season at least. Sure looks like that's not going to be the case at this point. It doesn't seem like anything's been put on the docket for anything. So that's going to play into the numbers of how wide receivers go. Then you get into Kadarius Toney, who has $2.5 million guaranteed on his contract. Is it possible the Chiefs eat it and release him? I wouldn't think so, based on the fact that Veach has still said he's the most talented wide receiver they have on the roster, even after the draft. So then you're really sitting there looking for maybe one other spot other than, and Justin Watson's probably at number 4, unless he takes a step back, which we haven't seen him play. So it's really hard to know if that would be the only case scenario, is if for some reason Justin Watson wasn't going to be able to do what he did last year, but he's got guaranteed money and Mahomes seems to love him, so I can't see him going anywhere either.
I agree. It's tough to see any of it changing. So you got to find your niche, take advantage when you have something to play for, and see what you can make of it. We're going to watch this position even more carefully below the top 3 going forward. The same is not the situation at the cornerback spot, because roles are taking shape, but nothing's won yet other than Trent McDuffie's role. So who's making noise and who's taking that chance to go get it? We're going to talk about that coming up next. Summer's in full swing, and we're getting ready for football season. It doesn't matter whether you're trying to go to MLB right now and go see the Royals, or you're waiting on your preseason tickets, your Chiefs tickets for the regular season, or even those cold, snowy days. The best way to get it done is Game Time. It helps if you can plan. I fully admit that, but sometimes you just can't. And so last-minute deals are exactly what you're looking for, whether it's the section of the stadium that you want, whether it's the seat exactly that you want, or whether you're just looking for that last-minute super saver. You can save up to 60% on tickets last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, anything at Game Time. This is really important. I sit in one section of Arrowhead, and I really love it. It's a zone deal. And when that comes up, I try to go all in, because they give you all in pricing with no hidden fees. It takes the guesswork out of getting tickets for Arrowhead, but for baseball as well. You can get it all at Game Time. So download the Game Time app, create your account, and use our code LOCKEDONNFL. You're going to get $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply, but it's super simple. Create an account, use our code LOCKEDONNFL, and you're going to get $20 off of your first ticket purchase. So download it today. It's last-minute tickets. It's lowest prices, and they are always guaranteed. Make sure you check out Locked On Sports Today. It's free and available for you on the Locked On Sports Today feed here on YouTube and on Amazon Fire TV. It's 24/7. It's no shouting voices, and it gives you the inside information you're looking for from every team you might be interested in 24/7 a day. Locked On Sports Today. Cornerback roles. Trent McDuffie's Trent McDuffie, but you don't seem to think that's it.
No, I don't disagree with you. I just want to say really quick, and the NFL channel is actually launching Locked On NFL 24 hours a day, and that will be coming out this week. So be on the lookout for that. I'm not going to say that Trent McDuffie isn't Trent McDuffie. I would say he's one of one on this roster, and he is obviously CB number 1. The question I have when it comes to him is he going to continue to play outside? Because I don't know that. I would think that would be where they want him to be, but it's a question of, are they going to be comfortable enough having somebody else play the slot corner role? Because if they don't, he's going to be outside when they only have 2 CBs on the roster or on the field, and then somebody else is going to come play outside, and he's going to slip inside. We'll see. We still don't know right now. They're still rotating a bunch with that.
Well, and I think it comes down to this. They're comfortable with Trent wherever they need to line him up. So it becomes about, is Chamari Connor still, as we think he is now, the best nickel corner on this roster, despite being listed as a safety? My answer is actually yes. But until Justin Reed is back, there's a hole at safety because you have Brian Cook and you have Brian Cook. You've got Deion Bush back there that's played some snaps for you, but Jaden Hicks, obviously a rookie, needs some support. And so they've been pulling Chamari back to the safety spot at times. And I think that's an experiment of where it needs to go. If Justin Reed has to miss a ball game, I think it's going to be Chamari Connor playing safety, which means you might move McDuffie into the nickel and play the outside guys as the outside guys because you have more outside talent, in my opinion, than you do nickel guys. So the role for Trent can be whatever it needs to be. It's the other positions that we got to sort out, and it feels like it's coming together a little bit. Where do you think it stands right now for the corner group?
I mean, Kelvin Joseph has been getting time with the ones, and that is not something that either you or I really predicted. We were thinking that he was going to come in, he was going to be mainly a camp body, and maybe he could force his way onto the roster as a back-end corner. But right now, it looks like he could be CB2 and playing on the outside for the Chiefs. And if that happens, I will just put it this way. I haven't seen a step back from Josh Williams, and we'll talk about Jaylen Watson here in just a moment. But if Kelvin Joseph can step in and be corner number 2 and give the Chiefs somebody else that can play that position, that's a huge home run for Brett Veach. I mean, the corner was already a deep position, and you're looking at adding another guy that could step in and be your starter. And Najee Johnson was out, and we'll talk about him a little bit later too with the injuries. But you look at that, and that's a situation where it's kind of surprising because you would have thought that Joshua Williams and Jaylen Watson would be the guys up after Trent McDuffie. Then you have Najee Johnson that throws his hat in the ring, and now he's out with an injury, and you still have somebody jumping over Joshua Williams and Jaylen Watson.
And it's good, and I know how Spags works. He's got to see it, so you got to give him reps. I actually had, like you said, I had Joseph making the roster as the fifth, sixth CB because of his experience, because I love his fit in this defense. I wanted them to draft him back in the day because I thought he was a great value and a great fit. So if that happens and Chamari has to go back to the safety spot, you have McDuffie. You've got Watson, Williams, Kelvin now, Najee, who I think has been leading all of them until the injury. We'll get to that here coming up. And so now you have 3 viable candidates. Najee gets back healthy and as the hamstring recovers, you have 4 viable candidates all on the outside. They've taken the rookie Haddon and put an inside at the nickel. You still have Nick Jones there. I think there's enough volume that you still might be looking to trade one of these guys off and still have enough guys that you feel can be the number 2/3. It just might not be at the same level that the 2/3 was last year, obviously, with our number 2 being an all-pro.
Well, and it's going to be hard to think that you're going to get to that same level because, be fair about it, L'Jarius Sneed was one of the best corners in football last year. Trent McDuffie was one of the best corners in football last year. You can't just let one of those guys go and expect that you're going to get the same play. But the big thing for the Kansas City Chiefs defense is that they just need to be able to make up for a difference between a L'Jarius Sneed and a guy like Joshua Williams or Kelvin Joseph or Jaylen Watson being their outside guy. And while that seems like it would be a big deal, maybe it's not going to be. I mean, your defensive line you're bringing back, some of them should be getting better. That is a young group for the most part. You have a linebacker group that could be as good, if not better than it was last year, if everybody's able to stay healthy and play. And your safeties, I think, are going to be better than they were last year as well. Brian Cook, I think, is going to continue to improve from what he was doing last year, and Reed has been very good in the system. So I think you have to feel like, yes, the defense could take a step back technically, but I don't feel like it's maybe they're not going to be a defense that can only allow, 10 to or less than 10 points or 10 to 15 points. Maybe they're allowing 12 to 17. I mean, maybe that's what you're looking at. I don't think it's going to be a huge difference, but I do think they'll take a step back. But I think you can afford to do that considering what you're getting in return in the trade and in the cap space.
Yeah, I completely agree. And the way that balances out is if you have that pullback, let's call it, at the CB level, it equates to getting more pressure up front. And if they feel that they can do that now, Leo Chanel getting more likely some higher pass rush snaps this season. We'll look for that.
FAU.
Mike Dan is playing pretty well so far. You're going to get FAU out there. You're going to get a Menahue back eventually. Can they get more pressure to alleviate what's on the backside? It's certainly within the realm of possibilities. So as the roles continue to solidify, maybe they still play around with it. Maybe we don't. We're going to see what happens preseason game number 1. But there's a couple of guys right now that are in jeopardy of not being able to play in that ball game. What hit camp today was an injury run. What does it mean and who got him? Coming up next. You love sports just like I do, and you love them so much you never want them to stop. But the playoffs have come and go. It's baseball season, and now it's training camp. There's always something to get into the action, and wherever you want to go, you can do it with one app on FanDuel and place any bets anytime you're in the mood. This summer, FanDuel is giving away to all customers either a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com. You can even take a look at the Chiefs right now. They are plus 600 for the next Super Bowl, the three-peat Super Bowl. You can go to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of your summer right now. There's still time left in this summer. FanDuel.com, the official sportsbook betting partner of Major League Baseball and the NFL. This is my least favorite topic when it comes to injuries in camp, but we're going to run it all down for you right now. But make sure you check out Chiefs Corner for everything that Chris is doing and NFL 33 and RGR football for what's current right now in the rest of the sphere that I'm covering. A lot of information out there, not so much information on the injuries other than 4 guys had to leave practice today. A few were lingering out there that were already out, but they got one back. And that feeds into our last discussion. Jaylen Watson back. I don't think he's full go. That's all right. But warming up into it, they weren't able to get him full go at OTAs. This is a boon, in my opinion, to get him back out there.
Yeah, and I don't think he was in pads, to be clear. So I think he had his helmet out there. I think he ran through drills, but I don't think he was in actual pads. I think he had his jersey on in maybe spiders, but it wasn't full pads, which is really what you would expect. And Joe Thuney, I believe, was also not in full pads. I believe. I'm not 100% sure on that. But I know he was out there practicing. What you saw today was a ton of heat, and I'm glad that it waited until after I was gone. So thank you, St. Joe. I appreciate the weather. But a ton of heat really hit this team. And, you look at it at 9:15, it's still hot. It's still getting, upwards of 90 degrees when they're practicing. And then you look at the injuries that happened. Jaylen Watson comes back from PUP. I think that's a good sign for them. And that kind of goes back into what we were talking about with the corners is the question of, what's he going to bring? Because we haven't seen it yet. And I don't think we'll see it until maybe early next week, if not this weekend, I guess, because he's still got to acclimate and he'll need a couple of days before he can actually go in pads. So that'll be some time. But he can get out there and he can do some drills and he can stretch and run and do all that. So that's an improvement.
Yeah, I agree. That will definitely help. Now, along with him, a couple of continued injuries, Nazeeh Johnson being one of them, not full go. I do believe he was on the sidelines, if I understood. Same, Chris Jones was back out there. Was that correct?
That's correct. And really quick, Watson, I don't think practices in full until after they have a day off on Saturday. They have Saturday off on the 3rd. So I don't think he'll practice in full until after that. And they may hold Thuney out until after that as well, although I think Thuney could probably practice Friday, but I don't think they'll push it. And just a quick update on that, Thuney was out there, but since he's not running in full pads, you have Norzad still taking the snaps as left guard 1, which is interesting considering it was Caliendo for quite some time. So they're kind of rotating there to see what they have as well. And that could be huge for Kansas City when you start looking at depth and having to develop that type of position in the interior. One other thing, I think I said this while I was there. It seemed to me that Norzad and Hansen were always switching between center and guard on second team. So it wasn't like they were getting all the snaps at one position. They were switching back and forth day to day. So I do think that that's something to watch as well.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Get as much exposure for both of those guys before you expect to sit them for most of the season, in all likelihood. So I think that that's great, and it prepares you for next season. It's going to be a heck of a ride at the interior positions coming in this offseason. But that said, having Saturday off is a plus because you're 1 week out from preseason game number 1. That is August 10th against the Jacksonville Jaguars. You got to get ready. So who else missed today that is going to be a problem? Probably top of that list of the newly injured is Nick Bolton. It was late in practice. Looks like it's a left arm injury. I don't have any specifics on it there, but
elbow.
Just to remind everybody, that is the hyper. Did they list it as elbow? Okay. Because that's what he had last season as well.
Yeah, I think Andy Reid talked about it afterwards, and he got pinned between two players, and it bent the wrong way. It has been reported. I've seen a couple people in the media from the Chiefs or from around the Chiefs orbit say that it's not a significant injury. I'm not going to say he's going to be back tomorrow, but it sounds like it's not something that will keep him out long term. Of course, with an elbow at this point, you would expect that if he does come back out, they're going to put a brace on it for at least the next several weeks to protect it and try to get the strength back there where it needs to be. But yeah, there was a lot of injuries on Wednesday, unfortunately. Kadarius Toney went down, hurt his ankle, had to go back up the hill. And to be clear, all these guys that we're going to be talking about now all went up the hill. Kadarius Toney, I'll just say Godric, because I still don't want to try
Godric?
Yeah, Chukwubuka Godric, Chukwubuka Godric. I don't know. I apologize. That is a hard name. McCade Mettauer, also another offensive lineman with ankle, and Godric was also an ankle, and Kadarius Toney was an ankle. So 3 ankle injuries. Nick Bolton with his elbow. This is going to happen.
Gaithing's left as well, I believe, right?
Oh, yep, you're right. I missed that one. Isaiah Gaithing's hamstring. So at this point, they're losing guys to injury a little bit. That's obviously concerning. I would say that if you look at the injury list, having Nick Bolton and Kadarius Toney be on the injury list, Nick Bolton is obviously the bigger one there. When you're looking at the 53-man roster, Chris Jones returned back to practice. Seemed like he was able to go full, so I think he'll be fine. And we're still waiting on Derek Nottie, Charles Omenihu, Justin Reed. And I don't think we'll see B.J. Thompson this year, but we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I hope that there's some kind of rehab plan for him. We'll see how the testing tunes out. And Andy did say at the beginning of camp that they are involved in the process of checking him out health-wise, so kudos to him. So as we said earlier, the big takeaway is who gets the reps for Kadarius Toney. In Nick Bolton's absence, you can see that it's probably going to be Cam Jones that takes the reps tomorrow. That will be something to watch. So Jack Cochran possibly, or does one of the young guys come storming up to take some reps? We'll see.
I would love to see something from Cam Jones because I think he needs to get some acclimation with that first team just so he has the ability to step in and do it. Obviously, he knows all 3 of the positions, but it's still different, and it's still chemistry of knowing how your teammates around you are going to react. So if Bolton doesn't go tomorrow, which I would expect, I definitely hope Cam Jones is the one that steps in and gets that opportunity.
I do too. I'm looking forward to it. I think he has the ability. I'm excited about it. Other than that, we'll see the tight ends. There's still Kupp out there that's going to help shore up Gaithing's injury, and there's plenty of linemen to go around. So we'll take a look at practice tomorrow, let you know who's out there, who's maybe recovered, who's going to be out for a little bit, and we are waiting to see what comes next.
Really quick, I know this isn't injury related, but Carson Wentz continues to have a good camp. Had another good day today, had a couple of big throws. Just want to throw that out there as a quick note because he continues to show that he should be a pretty decent step up from what they had last year as their backup QB. Obviously, you hope he doesn't have to play, but I think you have to feel good about him going in if he did have to at some point.
Yeah, a brand new shiny insurance blanket. I will take it. There's a lot to go over. We'll have another breakdown for you tomorrow. Any breaking news, contract-wise or other, for some of the guys that are looking at maybe getting extensions. Make sure you subscribe here to get all the breaking news. Hit that bell on the YouTube app so that you get a notification when we do something breaking. And you can get on the text line at 816-357. Like, sub, hit the bell. Thanks for being with us. We appreciate you guys spending your time. Camp is drawing on. We are 10 days out from the first preseason football game. Get ready, and we'll have more for you tomorrow. We'll talk to you then.